Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD and this is going to be a special HD video. This is going to be the very first game I played in the Masters League. That's right, I am currently in the Masters League. In fact, it took me one game after HD Daily Ladder number 14. I played a ZVZ and I won that game, and then the system promoted me to Masters, and so I am currently in the Masters League. This is the very first game I played. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to recording it first-person view, but I thought since, this was an actually pretty interesting game, and it was the very first game in Masters, I'll go ahead and re-bring it to you guys in replay format. And speaking of replay format, we actually have a nice little tool here, which allows me to toggle the timeline away, so I don't have to put my big HD StarCraft blog sign here that blocks everything. So that's really nice and convenient. And yeah, this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss. Super excited. It is, once again, the very first game I have played in the Masters League. Now, my opponent is going to be Chicane, the blue Protoss. And on this map, Delta Quadrant, not really the best map, to be honest, for Zerg versus Protoss. Simply because the natural expansion, the one way out here, is very difficult to defend, especially if your opponent goes for 4-gate, 3-gate Stargate, 3-gate Robo. There's so many different strategies that Protosses can just run right through, and honestly, your creep, if you get an expansion here, your creep only extends to about here, so units are easily able to funnel straight up into your main. So it's not the best map for Zerg versus Protoss. And for that very reason, I'm a strong supporter of opening with early Roach aggression on this map. You can be aggressive with Roaches against Protoss, and you can use some of your Roaches to break down these rocks, and then go for the backside expansion, which is far safer and easier to defend. So yeah, I think this game I will be going for the early Roach aggressive opening. And actually, anytime I play against Protoss, I always throw a Roach Warren down after the spawning pool, just to make my opponent scared. I don't have to pump Roaches, but in this case, on this very map, I am going to pump Roaches. So it really just kind of goes to show you that the map that you play on in StarCraft 2 has a huge effect on your style of play and what kind of build orders you're going to use, because certain maps favor certain builds. For example, on Lost Temple, if you're playing ZVT, you don't want to get dropped on the ledge. You might open one base Spire. And for example, I don't know, it's hard for me to call off the top of my head, but different maps call for different situations, and there's a lot of different builds that work better on certain maps that don't work on others. So anyways, we do have my drone coming in here. Note, once again, this is not in first-person view. I am doing this in replay format. So, you guys won't get all dizzy and everything. This is replay format, and note that I do have my drone coming in here. I see that my opponent using Chrono Boost on his Cybernetics core, still saving some Chrono Boost on the Nexus though, so things are a little peculiar. Not exactly sure what my opponent's up to, but if we look back at home, I do have my Roach Warren up, and I'm just waiting for my Overlord to pop, as well as my Larva to pop, and then I'll have about 5 or 6 Roaches. And I'm probably going to send those out and do some attacks with those Roaches, and at the same time, like I said, leave a couple behind, break off these backdoor rocks, and go for the backside expansion. Get a safer expansion rather than going for the one at the front. Now, it looks like my opponent's doing a little bit of scoot and shoot sentry micro there. Stole that from the Terran Marines, and he was able to kill off my drone. And now that my scouting drone has died, it looks like Chicane will be going for what seems to be a 4-gate here. Could be a 3-gate Stargate, could be a 3-gate Robo, not 3-gate Robo, could be a 3-gate Stargate. One or the other. Not exactly sure which is which yet. And wisely, Chicane, using his Stalkers, moving them around the perimeter of the map, and picking off these Overlords. And this is what you want to do if you're Protoss. After you kill off the Scouting Worker, and you have your Cybernetics core down, you want to hide your tech. But at the same time, here comes my attack. These are the Roaches I was talking about, opening with early aggression. And it looks like, luckily for Chicane, he did have a sentry with force field, but as soon as this sentry wears, as soon as the force field wears out, I will be able to push my Roaches in and continue to do good damage into the Protoss main. Chicane warping in another sentry here, but notice I moved my Roaches in before the sentry could lock me out with a force field, and now I have 3 Roaches inside the Protoss main, doing as much damage as I possibly can, picking off sentries, picking off Stalkers, and this is really, not only does it do damage to my opponent, it causes him to miss on his build. You know, look at this, he's got 600 minerals, 400 gas saved up. At this early stage in the game, that's a very, very large amount of resources to have saved up, and that's because he's so focused on dealing with this counter attack with these units that he's really fallen behind in his build. So back at home, of course, like I said, leaving a couple roaches at the back to kill off these backdoor rocks, and now I can safely grab my expansion towards the backside rather than risk going for that hatchery all the way here at the front. Now, Chicane is definitely behind. He's going to have to make something happen. He does have one single Stargate coming up. I saw him originally try to throw up 2. I guess he decided to change his mind. Maybe he just doesn't feel like he has the resources necessary to pump out of 2 Stargates, which I would tend to agree with, seeing as how he's only got 1 base here. And it looks like he will be working his own backdoor rocks at the same time. Now, this is a very deadly situation if you're Zerg. Even though you did all that great aggressive damage, you don't know what's coming. Obviously, you can bring in a Scouting Overlord, but I haven't brought one in yet. So if you're not going to bring in a Scouting Overlord, the next best thing, make another attack. I know I've got all these roaches. I know my opponent's on the back foot. Let's run in with roaches once again and see what I can do. And really, you never have to overcommit. If you see a sentry here, don't overcommit. I didn't see a sentry, so I said, okay, cool, let's run straight in. And voila, I see the Stargate. So as soon as you see the Stargate, the very first priority, kill the pylon if there's only one pylon powering that Stargate. And it looks like I just barely picked off that pylon right before the Void Ray popped out. And now my roaches are free to go to work. They don't have to worry about the Void Ray shooting at them because, of course, roaches cannot shoot the air. Now my roaches, even though I really don't even have to focus on the roaches so much. If we go to my first-person player cam, this is my player view. And yes, I am not sure why I'm focusing that pylon there. I guess I really wanted to unpower those warp gates. But really, notice the entire time I'm working on my, I'm doing that micro, I'm still macroing back at home. My gas is as low as it can possibly be. And that's really because I didn't have more drones on gas. But always working on that macro. And sometimes you realize, you know, you've only got a couple roaches left in your opponent's base. Just leave them there, you know? It's not worth your attention span anymore. Time to go back, rebuild, macro up new units. So if we go back to Chicane's view, it looks like he is going to be making a counter attack here. And he's got a pretty significant army. He still has his Void Ray, I believe. Where is that Void Ray? Anyways, I actually have no idea where the Void Ray is at. But here comes Chicane's attack. There's a Void Ray. He is actually going to be containing me now. This is, even though I have a huge advantage in this game, I have 32 over 24 drones. This is the situation that can be very difficult if you're Zerg. And luckily, I didn't grab the expansion out here at the front. If I had, I may very well have lost it to that attack. So luckily for me, I did decide to stay in the back. I do have the backside expansion. And as long as I can hold this off, I should be in a good position because note, Chicane is still on 1 base and I am on 2. So right now, what you want to do is, you know your opponent's got Void Rays. Note that I threw down an Evo Chamber so I can get some spores if I need to. I already have my Hydralisk Den out. I have a couple extra queens. I think I have 4 queens in total. So as soon as I saw that Stargate, even though I canceled that pylon, I started to pump mass queens, mass hydras, got a spore crawler, or excuse me, evolution chamber down. And so Chicane now, realizing he needs to make one last attack, he needs to try to end the game here and now, or he is pretty much out of the game, is going to be pushing up the ramp, and he is going to try to take me down. Notice that I am using all my queens and hydras, focusing them down on the Void Rays first, because that is the highest priority unit, and also of course using transfuse on any units that need health when necessary. And it looks like I was able to hold off that all-out attack. And yeah, that's my very first game in Masters League. My opponent on this map, I was able to counter him with early roach aggression, and I think that's a nice way to show you guys how to play early roaches, especially on a map like this. You can bust in, especially if they don't have cannons there, and if they don't have at least 2 sentries at the ramp, you can easily make your way in with 5 or 6 roaches. So it's a very powerful opening against Protoss, something that all Protoss fear. and it really gives you the upper hand towards the mid to late game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that broadcast. This is a special, I guess this is kind of Daily Ladder, kind of a replay format, first Masters League game. I hope you guys enjoyed it anyways, and we're going to go ahead and move on and see more games in the near future. I think I'm going to have some pro games coming out, and yeah, that's it for me. HD, signing out.